Yeah. Last time we were together, which was last week, okay, we left off having discussed the woman caught in adultery, the treatment related to the woman caught in adultery, and then you guys looked and we talked very briefly about Jesus' tone and the development of the conversation that follows, right? Continuing this idea of Jesus being a little bit more gentle and willing to teach and guide along in a process those individuals who have faith and who are open to what Jesus has to say, as opposed to those individuals who are a little bit more hostile, where Jesus is definitely more confrontational with them, right? Is that ringing any bells in your head whatsoever? Okay, good. So today what we're going to do is look at the rest of John chapter 8, and then I have something I'm going to turn over to you guys to be working on that will lead us into the next couple of days worth of material as we look at the rest of the Gospel of John this week. Good so far? So here's what I need. We're going to start in verse 12, chapter 8. We're going to take chapter 8 in chunks, okay? And the first of those chunks is going to be 8 through 20. And we're going to chart out how Jesus handles and works with the opposition he faces in John chapter 8, okay? So I need somebody to read for me 8, 12 through 20. Go ahead.
When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The Pharisees challenged him. Here you are, appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid.
Okay, so first thing we notice is that Jesus says, I'm the light of the world. And the Pharisees and religious leaders challenge him because he is testifying on his own behalf, right? The basic idea is this. Jewish law requires, if you're going to give testimony, that you have someone else who can give the same testimony as you. Otherwise, you're just making it up, and it's not trustworthy. Is it making sense? Okay. So Jesus says, I'm the light of the world. And they said, that's great. You say that about yourself, but everybody thinks they're that awesome, and you're clearly not. So who else is going to testify on your behalf? This is the challenge to them. Okay? Keep going.
Jesus answered, even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is valid.
Okay, pause. So what Jesus is going to do is 3 parts that follow this, but he's going to offer them proofs. Anybody a geometry fan?
I like geometry. It's not proofs.
I agree. Okay, I hated proofs in geometry. Let me finish the thought here. I hated proofs in geometry, but what they do is establish a logical line of reasoning. And what Jesus is going to do is logical proof. Jesus is going to say, okay, I understand that you say I need someone else to testify on my behalf. Even if I don't have that, here's why my testimony is still legit. And it's a logical proof. It's what you do in saying these 2 triangles are congruent triangles or similar triangles or whatever in a geometric proof. It's a logical proof that provides you with enough evidence to say what Jesus says is credible. Okay? All right, keep going.
For I know where I came from and where I am from, but you have no idea where I come from or where I am going. You judge me by human standards. I pass judgment on no one. But if I do judge, my decisions are true because I am not alone. I stand with the Father.
Okay, hold on. So the first point in his proof is that I know where I'm from and you don't. My testimony is valid because I know where I'm from and you don't. And the basic gist of this for Jesus in saying that I know where I'm from is saying this. I know I'm God. You don't. Because where is he from? What?
Heaven.
Heaven. He's from the Father. That's especially true in the Gospel of John. This is what he says all the time, right? The Father has sent me. From the Father. I'm going back to the Father. This is the language of the Gospel of John. On top of that, Jesus has been, and will continue to be embroiled in conversations with the Pharisees, where they say something like, don't we know this man's parents? Joseph the carpenter and Mary, right? But do they know his parents? No, because Joseph's not his father. You following me? We know where he's from. He's from Nazareth in Galilee. But do they really know where he's from? And the answer is no, because they don't think he's from heaven or from the Father. You with me? So there's this play on their claim throughout the Gospel of John. Keep going.
In your own law, it is written that the testimony of two witnesses is true. I am the one who testifies for myself. My other witness is the Father who sent me. Then they asked him, where is your Father?
Pause. Okay. I testify. That's not good enough for you. Okay. The Father testifies on my behalf. Because it's John chapter 5. What the Father says is what I say. And what I say is what the Father says. It's a package deal, right? Keep going.
You do not know me or my Father, Jesus replied. If you knew me, you would know my Father also. He spoke of these words while teaching in the temple according to the place where the offerings were placed. Yet no one sees him because his hour had not come.
Okay. So, if you knew me, you would know the Father, and if you know the Father, then you know me. So if you know me, then you know the Father, and vice versa. Flip it around. Good so far? So what's the deal here? Jesus says three things about why his testimony is valid. Number one, his testimony is valid because he knows where he's come from, and that means he's God. So his testimony is valid because he's God. Okay. It's kind of hard to argue with. Second, his testimony is valid because the Father says the same thing. Last, his testimony is valid because he and the Father are same. John chapter 5. You see why we studied John 5? Because everything Jesus is arguing here in John 8 is grounded in what he's already told them in John 5. Still with me? Do you mind to keep going, man? So what's going to happen here is Jesus is going to go into another set of three pieces in the next chunk. And then there'll be one more set of three, and that last set of three launches him into the thrust of his argument. Go ahead. Oh, you going to pick up?
No, it's just saying which verse.
We are going to pick up in verse 21. Go ahead, man.
Once more Jesus said to them, I'm going away, and you will look for me, and you will die in your sin. Where I go, you cannot come.
Okay. So reason number one is this. I'm going away. You cannot follow. Yeah.
What are these reasons for?
These are the same reasons why his testimony about himself is true. He's in an argument now. And what he's going to do in his argument, not that they're going back and forth yet, but he's making a case that his testimony is valid because of these reasons. And each new paragraph gives you a new set of three. Right? So here are three reasons why my testimony is valid. Here are three more reasons why my testimony is valid. I'm going to go away, but you can't follow me. In other words, I'm special. I'm going somewhere you can't go. This raises a serious question for them. Go ahead.
Is this also discussed with the same group as the last?
Yeah.
This made the Jews ask, will he kill himself? Is that what he says? Where I go, you cannot come.
Okay, so they don't understand his comment. I'm going to go away and you can't follow me. They're confused. And so, like, what is he going to do? What does this mean? We don't get it, right? This is characteristic of Jesus and John, yeah? He said things that Nicodemus doesn't get. But he says things to the woman at the well, and she responds with faith instead of with trying to figure it out, and Jesus explains it to her. Keep going.
But he continued, you are from below. I am from above. You are of this world. I am not of this world.
Okay. Yeah, keep going. 24.
I told you that you would die in your sins. If you do not believe that I am he, you will indeed die in your sins.
Okay, stop. We're going to pick up in 25. So he says this, you are from below. I am from above. You are of this world. And then he says, I am not of this world. Right? This is Jesus. So why else should they believe his testimony? Because he's not from around here. Again, where's he from? Heaven. He's repeating it. Now he's made it more explicit. I'm from above. But you're from down here.
Do they know what he's trying to say and just so trying not to?
Well, do they know what he's trying to say? Read 25.
Who are you? They asked.
Nope, they don't know what he's trying to say. Do they know what he's trying to say? No, they don't. They don't get it. Like Nicodemus in John chapter 3, what? They don't get it. Okay? Maybe it's obvious to those who have faith, which is the whole point in the Gospel of John. The woman has faith at the well, she gets it. Yeah? So hold on. This is part of what we're working through with John's layers. So they ask, and this leads them into reason number 3. Their question is, who are you?
Just what I have been telling you from the beginning.
Okay, who are you? I am who I said I was. Miller Paraphrase version. That's Jesus' response. Who are you? I am who I said I was. They're just as confused. Who are you? I already told you. What? But we didn't get it the first time. I already told you. So, who are you? Jesus' response? I already told you. Anybody ever ask your mom or dad something? And mom or dad's response is, I already told you. Anybody ever feel just as confused as the first time? Yes! Jesus and his mind tricks. Part of me thinks he's just messing with them. Anyway, carry on.
I have much to say in judgment of you, but he who sent me is trustworthy, and what I have learned, what I have heard from him, I tell him. I
Yep.
tell the world.
Good. Keep going.
They did not understand that he was telling them about his Father.
Okay, again, they don't get it. So he's going to continue with his reasoning for number 3. Keep going.
So Jesus said, when you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing but on my own, but speak. Just what the Father has taught me.
Okay. Read 29 and 30. My bad.
The one who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone, for I always do what pleases him. Even as he spoke, many believed him.
Okay. What does he mean by this lift it up? In other words, he says, you don't get it. I'm paraphrasing, right? You don't get it, but you will get it when you lift me up. What's he referring to? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he's referring to. In the Gospel of John, his lifting up is his crucifixion. It's making reference to the cross. Here's what happens. I think there are two places where Jesus uses the specific phrase, lifted up, in the Gospel of John. This is one of them. And the other one is a direct reference to what Moses does with the bronze serpent in the wilderness. Do you guys remember that story? They're wandering through the wilderness, and they're complaining because the water and the food isn't what they wanted, right? And so God's like, okay, I'm done with your complaining, and he sends a group of snakes. People get bit in the camp, and Moses goes, okay, God, we're done. We don't get it. Collectively, we're sorry. Can you fix the snakes problem? God says, sure, here's what you're going to do. You make a bronze version of the snake that's biting you and put it on a stick in the camp, and when somebody gets bit, they believe that I'm going to heal them, and they look at the serpent on the stick, and then they'll be good. God doesn't take away the snakes. He just makes a way for them to be healed. So the the other time in the Gospel of John, that Jesus talks about being lifted up, he makes a direct parallel to himself and the bronze serpent in the wilderness. You're going to make me dead and put me on a stick. It's a cross. Right? Which, by the way, is why the medical profession has the snake wrapped around a stick. It's the bronze serpent in the wilderness. That's why that's the medical symbol professional thing. Right? Like the nursing profession has that as a symbol for it. It comes straight out of the Exodus event. Yeah, mind blowing. Okay? It's a parallel. Yeah? So Jesus says, when you've killed me, then you'll get it. You think that's going to go over well? Well, I guess we're going to find out. Keep going. We are now in verse 31.
The Jews who have believed him, Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Okay. So first he says, hold to my teaching. And what? And then you will be you'll be free. What do they say? 33.
They answered him, we are Abraham's descendants and have never been slaves of anyone. How can you say that we shall be set free?
His response?
Jesus replied, Verily truly I tell you, everyone who sins is a slave to sin.
Okay.
Now, a slave has no permanent place in the family, but a son belongs to it forever.
All right. So now Jesus is making a transition. So reason number one in this last cycle of 3 is if you hold to my teaching, you'll be free. Why should you believe my testimony? Test it. Believe what I'm telling you. Listen to it. Do what I'm asking you to do. Just test it and you'll be set free. They don't get it. Free from what? Jesus goes, free from sin. Yeah? Oh, and then he says, if you're a slave, you don't have a permanent position in the house, but a son does. Keep reading. Until the end of 38.
I know, if the son sets you free, you'll be free indeed. I know that you are Abraham's descendants, yet you are looking for a way to kill me, because you have no room for my word. I'm telling you what I have seen in the Father's presence, and you are doing what you have heard from your Father.
Oh, I'm telling you what I've seen from my Father, but you are doing what you have heard from your Father, which raises a question. And the question is this. Who's your daddy? Look, the Miller paraphrase version is good for something. It's moments like this that are perfect. Just doing what I can. Now, this is the question. If I say, what comes from the Father, but you do something that's not that, then the valid question is, who's your daddy? Because remember Jesus' argument from John chapter 5. If the Son does what the Father does, then the Son and the Father are the same thing. And it is the pattern of sons to do like their fathers. Thus the phrase, like father, like bingo. Which is the whole premise of Jesus' argument in John chapter 5, and now again in John chapter 8. Like father, like son, because sons do what their fathers have done before them. Yes? This is played out in more than one way in the life of Jesus. Joseph was a carpenter. Guess what Jesus was? Father is God, and the Son is God. Same. Like Father, like Son. So now the argument turns to this. The rest of John chapter 8 is Jesus doing this. Yeah? Keep reading.
Abraham is our father, they answered. If you were Abraham,
Okay, so first counterclaim from them is this. Abraham is our father. Jesus goes, well, maybe.
if you were Abraham's children, said Jesus, then you would do what Abraham did. As it is, you are looking for a way of killing it. A man who has told you the truth that I have heard from God. Abraham did not do such things.
Okay, so Abraham's our father. No, he's not. Abraham didn't kill the person God sent him. You're trying to kill me. That's not the same thing. If you were Abraham's kids, you would believe me like Abraham believed the people God sent him. But since you don't believe, not Abraham's kids. That's a little bit of a problem. Given that the whole reason they follow the Mosaic covenant is to be descendants of Abraham and heirs of the promise, right? So now Jesus is saying, nope, not Abraham's kids. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. So they respond,
You're doing the works of your own father. We are not illegitimate children, they protested. The only father we have is God himself.
okay, fine. If we're not Abraham's kids, then we're God's. That's not going to go well. First. Second, they're relying on Exodus chapter 3 here. Because in Exodus chapter 3, God's talking, well, 3 and 4, but mainly in chapter 3, God's talking with Moses about setting Israel free from Egypt. And he says to Moses, Israel is my firstborn son. So the people of the covenant grew up, literally, from Sinai forward, referring to God as Father, because that's how God identified his relationship to the people of Israel in the Exodus. So, okay, fine, you say Abraham's not our father. God's our father. Listen, now they're arguing about the question of who's your dad. Abraham. No, he's not, because you don't live like Abraham did. Okay, fine. God. That might be a problem. Remember, he's already talked about this? Keep going. Let's see where this goes.
Jesus said to them, if God were your father, you would love me, for I have come here from God.
Okay. If God was your father, you would love me. Why? Because I came from God. And he loves me.
I have not come on my own. God sent me. Why is my language not clear? Because you are unable to hear what I said. You belong to your father, the devil.
There it is. Okay. Abraham's our daddy. No, he's not. You don't live like Abraham. God's our daddy. No, he's not, because God sent me. In fact, you don't believe what I tell you, and you're trying to kill me because spawn of Satan. He went there.
Uh-oh.
Children of the devil. That's what he calls them. You're not Abraham's kids. You're not God's kids. You're devil kids. Spawn of Satan. Little demon childs. How well do you think that's going to go over? No, it's not going to go over well at all. But here's the catch. The only people it's not going over well for is Jesus' audience. Remember the pattern of John's gospel. Those with faith get it, and Jesus walks them in. Those without, Jesus says stuff like this. Keep going.
And you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth.
Okay, so there are two things that are going to prove that they are spawn of Satan. First, he's a murderer. Second, he's a liar. You should write those two down. He's a murderer and he's a liar. So they then are going to do two things.
Lie and murder.
They're going to lie and murder. And Jesus is going to take them in that order. So he says this. It bookends what we're going to look at. 1, the devil is a murderer. 2, the devil is a liar. So you're a bunch of liars. You're a bunch of murderers. Yeah? Let's see if the rest of the chapter bears that out.
When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Yet because I tell the truth, you do not believe me.
Wait. Because I tell the truth, you don't believe me. Why? Because you're a liar. Keep going.
Can any of you prove me guilty of sin? If I'm telling you the truth, why don't you believe me? Whoever belongs to God hears what God says. The reason you do not hear is that you do not believe God.
Okay? So if you belong to God, you would listen to what God says. You clearly don't listen to God, so guess what? Not from God. Keep going.
The Jews answered him, aren't we right in saying that you are a Samaritan and deemed possessed?
Okay, so are they saying the truth? Is this true? No. He's not a Samaritan, and definitely not demon possessed.
That's by God.
Are they telling the truth?
No.
No. So what are they?
Liars.
Ding.
No.
We got half of our equation. Now they're lying. Uh-oh. Keep going.
I am not possessed by a demon, said Jesus, but I honor my Father and you dishonor me.
That's a problem. I honor my Father, you dishonor me. Remember the argument from John 5. The one who honors the Son honors the Father, and the one that honors the Father honors the Son. I honor the Father, you dishonor me means you dishonor the Father. Wait, isn't that kind of what the devil did? Ding! Keep going.
I'm not seeking glory for myself, but there is one who seeks it, and he is the judge. Very truly I tell you, whoever obeys my word will never see death. At this they exclaimed, now we know that you are being possessed. Abraham died, so did the prophets. Yet you say that whoever obeys your word will never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham? He died, and so did the prophets. Who do you think you are?
Okay. Are you greater than our father Abraham? What's the answer to that question? Yes. Why is he greater than Abraham? Because he's God. Second, John chapter 1. Without him, nothing was made that has been made. So why is he greater than Abraham?
Because he made
Because he made Abraham. Hang on. In Jewish culture and society, the Father is always greater than the Son. And Jesus mirrors this in his own life as he talks about the Father. The Father is greater than I. I do what the Father has sent me to do. This is the language of Jesus. Because this is the pattern of that culture. The Father is always, David is always greater than Solomon. Regardless of what Solomon did for the empire, David's always better. Why? Daddy. That's why. That's how it works. So if Abraham is the father, then Abraham's the pinnacle. Right? So they're asking a pointed question. Are you greater than Abraham? Now they ask it assuming the answer is no, because they don't get what he's explained. Still with me? Meanwhile, he is greater than Abraham because he's God, and because John chapter 1 told us this God created Abraham. So of course he's greater than Abraham. In a sense, The who's your daddy question has now been turned to Abraham. It's almost as if Jesus is about to ask the question in Abraham's place. If we're talking about Abraham and the question is, who's your daddy? The answer is God. And the catch is Jesus is the one who made Abraham. Keep going.
Jesus replied, if I glorify myself, my glory means nothing. My Father, who you claim as your God, is the one who glorifies me. Though you do not know him, I know him. If I said I did not, I would be a liar like you. But I do know him and obey his word.
Okay, so I would be a liar if I said I didn't know God, but I know God and I'm not a liar, so I guess you're the one that's a liar. Keep going.
Your father Abraham rejoiced at the thought of seeing my day. He saw it and he was glad. You are not yet 50 years old, they said to him, and you have seen Abraham?
Pause. This is a valid statement. You're not yet 50. Jesus isn't 50. He's probably 30, 32. Yeah? 33 maybe? So he's not 50. Great. You haven't seen Abraham. What? Well, let's just think about this for a second. Jesus is around, let's just say it's 26, AD 26. Okay? That's the year Jesus is saying this statement. With me? Abraham was around sometime between 2000 and 1800 BC. Look at that map. One of these things is bigger than the other one, right? You're not yet 50. How do you know Abraham from 2,000 years ago? Wait. It seems like we're inclined to belittle them for their poor math skills. They're actually using it to make a point.
Yeah. I see what they're saying, but still.
Their point is this. How the heck do you know Abraham? 50? 2,000 years. Their whole point is, dude, there's no way you're ever going to be old enough to know Abraham. How does Jesus respond?
Very truly, I tell you, Jesus answered. Before Abraham was born, I am.
Oh! Well, that's interesting. Before Abraham was... No, but he says it in the present tense. I am. No, he's intentionally playing on the tense. Before Abraham was, I am. And the reason he says I am is it's the name God gave for himself to Moses in Exodus 3. Moses says, what's your name? And he says, I am. Oh. So now Jesus has just used the divine name for himself? Oh, that's a problem. Wait a minute. They were going to be liars. They were going to be liars, and they were going to be what?
Murder.
What do they do next?
At this, they picked up stones to stone him, but Jesus hid himself, slipping away.
Ding, 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 ding. He said, your father, the devil, was a liar and a murderer. Guess what they just did? They lied and they tried to murder him.
Good job. You just proved Jesus right.
That's the whole point of John chapter 8. Jesus made an argument, and then they confirmed Jesus' argument by lying and trying to kill him.
At least if he said that, don't do those two things.
Well, here's the thing. Jesus said it and then intentionally poked the bear until he got the response he wanted. You notice when we shifted gears from this to the rest of it, Jesus is the one who's driving the conversation. Jesus is driving this entire conversation. All Jesus had to do was stop talking and walk away, and the whole conversation stops. But he doesn't. He just pokes the bear because he wants the response. Because the response proves his point. Yeah? He set him up. And they walked right into it. Here's where we leave off. Before Abraham was, I am. And the section we started with began in 12 with a statement that was, I am the light of the world. There are 7 I am the light of the world. the door, the way, the truth, and the life. I am the something statements in the Gospel of John. Those 7 statements have specific references, chapter and verse. Okay? Sometimes they get repeated. So like in 8:12, he says, I'm the light of the world. In 9:5, I think, he says it again when he heals the man who was blind. Yeah? So they might get repeated. That's fine. But there are 7 distinct, I am this thing statements. Bread of life, light of the world, whatever. With me? You're going to find the 7 I am whatever statements. What I want you to do is identify what Jesus is claiming about himself with that I am statement. Okay? Chapter, verse, what is the claim? And then what response does it get from the people around him? Okay? Yeah? So, I am the light of the world. How does the crowd respond in John chapter 8? Well, they're confused. So they ask some questions, and then they argue with him. Yeah? It's a lot like Nicodemus. Yeah. Fair. Okay. There are 4 I am statements in the Gospel of John that don't have any follow-on. They are like John 8:58. That's one of your 4, right? I am, full stop. It's not, I am the light of the world. It's not, I am the bread of life. It's just, I am. There are 4 of those. I want you to do the same thing. Chapter, verse, claim, response. Okay? Are you with me so far? Hang on. You're going to need to use John's Gospel, and it would be helpful to use some resources outside of John's Gospel. I'm encouraging you to do some digging and some research. You're going to spend the rest of today doing that. You're going to do that for a good portion of tomorrow's day in class. We're going to talk through some of these, and then Wednesday there'll be an activity to do with it. Good? So your prep work the next 2 days is what will make or break you come Wednesday. Good so far? Okay. Get started on that. Go. Do that. We'll just get you out of in this. No, so the next one.
I did the mission.
Yeah.
Don't have a signature now.
Can you have mom or dad just send me an email?
I was going to do that, but then you said you don't want to. Yeah,
I've gotten through the